Final hour OverDrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line on the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan, TSN 1050 up on TSN 2. Nazem Kadri coming up in a few moments. We'll get a weather update from Naz out in Alberta. It has been like scary, freezing cold.
Is it Calgary too, or just Edmonton?
Yeah, no, Calgary's been cold too. It was minus 40 there the other day. I had a buddy's car didn't start, and can you imagine? Here's the thing: Tyson Nash in Arizona are rolling in there tomorrow. These guys are coming from Arizona up to Calgary.
Yeah, like in
dude, I don't know if
people
are familiar with it, man.
Yeah.
I did it in the World Juniors, like minus 45 when it gets dark out. Like
good.
Andy Reid had the golden retriever mustache. I walked from a restaurant with my wife to the hotel, and she told me to stop and looked at me, and my eyebrows and eyes were frozen solid. Like all the moisture in your eyes, like whatever it is, and my eyebrows, everything. She said, your whole face is frozen. Yeah. And it was only 2 blocks.
It's scary. Like that cold, believe me, like people are knuckling down out there, and this is where a lot of people in Alberta are like, hey, we're not going to have electric heat.
No, exactly. They need gas and they need coal.
We
kind of need that right
to
now.
heat our house right now. And
Yeah.
it's just, I'm not getting political, but it's just the bottom line is it is freezing cold out there. Talking to all my buddies, and it's like ridiculous.
At least you're indoors, right? Like if you're going to an Oilers game or a Flames game, you're inside.
Yes.
Where the Chiefs play outside, the Bills are playing right now. It's 21-7 almost at the end of the first half. It's dark and it's very cold. Like
Frozen.
It's incredibly cold in Buffalo, and it's colder out west.
I thought it was cold here today.
It's cold. Like this is it. I was talking a big game like 2 days ago. I'm like, I could deal with this. No problem, man. We're into mid-January. I'm like, all right, it's here.
Yeah.
Yep, we're here. It's alive. Like it is the middle of January up here. You would expect it to be
I've gone
cold.
soft though. I grew up in Alberta, and I don't have the Alberta blood anymore.
That's what I was
soft out here.
That's what I was saying about Nasher. Like Nasher's an Alberta guy. He probably gets up there and he can't handle it.
If you lay eyes on Tyson Nash, he looks like George Hamilton. He's got a tan every day of his life, just leather skin. Like he doesn't like the cold anymore. The guy lives in Arizona.
Yeah,
and then he goes from Arizona to Kelowna in the summer, which is one of the nicest temperatures in Alberta.
And it's in the summer, right? Of course.
So he doesn't enjoy the cold. If anything, he'll be struggling for sure.
Well, listen, the Leafs will be out there on Thursday in Calgary, Edmonton tomorrow, and the Western Canadian trip's always a cool trip. Like, you would have played it. You did it twice. Nas would have played it many times as a Leaf. Now he's played it multiple times as a Flame.
Yeah. Tons of Leaf fans.
Lots of Leaf fans.
Half the buildings, Leafs, every building. I know Nas doesn't really care about that nonsense anymore, but it's fact.
Yeah, it is. It's factual. There'll be a ton of Leaf fans tomorrow. Leaf fans Thursday, Saturday in Vancouver, Sunday in Seattle, I would assume. Here he is, former Leaf, current Calgary Flame, back on OverDrive. Here's Nazem Kadri. How you doing, Naz?
Good, boys. How you doing?
We're doing well, man. You want to play weather reporter for us? Like, what are we talking about out in Calgary right now?
Oh, buckle up. It's chilly. It's chilly. Bring the boots, the mitts, everything. Everything you got.
Yeah.
Like, are you going outside, or is it only go outside if it's like to practice and back? That's it.
Yeah. I'm just basically walking from my garage to my car, so it's not a whole lot of work, but I think you just got to let it pass for the next couple of days, and then we're good.
Well, we've been talking about the NFL. Like in Kansas City, they were playing Saturday night. It was crazy cold. Obviously in Buffalo right now. You've played outdoor games. You were a Leaf when they played down at BMO against Detroit. Like, what's it like when you're playing sports outdoors and it's crazy cold?
Yeah, it can be difficult for sure. I mean, the air feels a little bit thicker, and it can be tough to manage sometimes, especially like when the wind and all that comes into play. But it can be fun and memorable. So you just try to take the good with the bad.
You played at the Heritage Classic at the end of October too. That seemed like a walk in the park compared to what the weather's like right now.
Oh yeah, that was actually a great event. We got lucky and pretty fortunate for it not to be too cold and wasn't really snowing. So as you know, those type of events are it's more so feel like for the friends and family and the parents, and they get to kind of experience something pretty special. So yeah, we lucked out with that one.
Naz, we were just talking about the Leafs heading out west and the amount of fans that are there supporting the Maple Leafs. You've done it playing for the team. What's it like being on the other side? Is it just something where you're like, let's just win the games and screw the fans that are wearing the blue and white now? What's it like being on the other side of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, I mean, I kind of know what to expect. I've expected it, and there's certain, I mean, Leafs fans in particular, obviously they travel pretty well, so I don't know if we can get a hold of some sort of cap on these tickets, but I'm sure I'll be seeing a few Leafs jerseys in the crowd this week.
Well, what if you see a Kadri Leaf jersey? How do you respond to that?
I'll throw him a puck or two. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, obviously, I still got lots of love for everyone that still supports me back home. So, definitely take home a souvenir.
Well, I was looking up your stats, your career hockey DB. I was wondering, when you broke into the league with the Leafs, how many Leafs are still kicking around? And we saw one yesterday. James Reimer was playing for Detroit.
Yeah. And
I guess JVR is down in Boston. And that's it. But that's over a decade now. You still got three of you who are still playing. Are you surprised there's still that many, or is it you surprised there's that few? What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of just how the sport goes, right? It's, they transition when you don't get the job done and you don't win. Obviously, change is inevitable. Obviously I had, Mitch, Willie, Austin, JT are still there from Morgan, obviously. So, quite a few. Obviously, those guys are, turning into Leaf legends and been there a long time. And it'll be good to try to get the win.
With Nazem Kadri, the Calgary Flames.
Naz, you guys just had your dad's trip. You want to highlight whose dad took home first star on the road? Or it looked like, following it on Twitter, it looked like they were really enjoying themselves.
Oh, they were hyped for sure. They were, there's a couple of the old men, walked away with some MVP awards. And, I think in Vegas on a weekend, we let them let loose and have some fun. So, luckily we got a great group and they've meshed well together and had themselves a great time and some, some great cities.
And the fact that you guys got the wins too, that helped, because I saw the Congo line in Arizona as you guys walked off. It looked like they were enjoying the game more than you guys were.
Most likely for sure. I think when you can just, hang in the suite and hammer some beer and nachos and just watch your son, play in an NHL game, I think that's always, special for them. And just to see what we go through on a regular day basis. They're sitting in all the meetings, all the pre-scouts, doing all the video with us. So, they can see it from a different perspective, which is always pretty cool.
With Nazem Kadri, you guys have won a few games in a row, as Noodles just pointed out. You're just on the outside of the playoffs looking in, and there's been a transition going from Daryl Sutter to Ryan Huska. How long did it take for you guys to get on the same page with Huska, and what have you made of some of the adjustments that he's brought to the table?
Oh yeah, it takes some time for sure. Obviously, we made some significant changes in terms of just systematically and some structure things. And I think, now it's really becoming second nature to us. And we're able to, read the plays a lot quicker and just kind of, hop on those situations a little faster. So it's always an adjustment period when you're, making that coaching change. But, I think everyone's embraced it. And, now we're, finally starting to see us, make some strides.
With Nazem Kadri, the Calgary Flames. So I'm reading here, the All Flavors Welcome campaign, a new platform from Ritz Canada that celebrates diversity in food and creates a space to share and celebrate all cultures, flavors, and experiences. You're a part of this, Naz. What does this mean? What are we getting into here with Ritz Canada?
Yeah, I just feel like it's a great campaign, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to be a part of it. And obviously it's something I believe in and had some personal experience in. So, figured I'd share, and I feel like it was, a unique look, not so generic like, most commercials or interviews would be. And, it was a lot of fun just getting these kids to kind of open up. I mean, it took a few minutes for sure, but, it really came off as raw and meaningful and authentic. And, I think it was a fantastic campaign.
Well, O's favorite treat is a Ritz cracker, a piece of cheese, and a pickle. Is that in your lunchbox?
Dude,
is that your go-to?
It's the best snack you'll ever have in your life.
That's a bit of a weird combination.
It really is weird.
No, it's
but
not.
I definitely was a huge fan of the double stuff. I like the peanut butter double stuffed Ritz crackers and the double stuffed cheese. So those were my go-tos.
Yeah, peanut butter
more
with
normal,
Ritz
though.
is
That's
so good.
I don't know. The pickle kind of throws me off. Everything else is fantastic.
Explain a pickle with a Ritz cracker. What's your story?
That's it.
Guys, until you try it.
That's O-Dog's name now, Pickles. We're going to refer to him as Pickles.
I don't think so. Nice try. But once you you give it a try, you'll never go back. I've got people, it's part of their dinner parties all the time because I introduced it. So just give it a shot.
Look at you.
I'm open.
All right. There it is, man. You're breaking down doors, man. I love it.
That's right.
I love it. All right. All flavors welcome. Again, a new platform from Ritz Canada. He is Nazem Kadri. Good luck, the rest of the way, Naz. We really appreciate you doing this today, and we'll do it again down the road.
All right. Thanks, fellas.
You got it. Nazem Kadri. Pickles O'Neill. That could stick.
Pixie.
Come on, Pixie. Where you at, Pix?
No. I don't know. Pickles O'Neill. Whose nickname is Pickles? I just
Vlasic.
Vlasic from San Jose.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, they did the game Pickles on Saturday. He was out there wheeling
But I've
around.
seen on Twitter, the Flames Twitter account, this Coleman. Is there like Coleman Pickles too? Because he's got.
Blake Coleman. Yeah,
they call him it lately, isn't he?
Dude, he's on fire.
Yeah, he's crushing it.
Like he's been fantastic. Now that's a cup winner they brought in, I think, on a 6-year deal at 4.9 or whatever. He's the guy, which I can't use him as an example anymore, because remember when I was saying, well, they give Blake Coleman $5 million a year, and he's been playing on second or third line, no problem. Nobody talks about him, but Jack Campbell or whoever else you want to give a goaltender $5 million, oh my God, like it's the worst thing in the world. But now Coleman's crushing it this year, which he's a hell of a player. He really is. He's a great on the penalty kill. He's good 5-on-5. The guy's a cup winner, quality person.
He was one of the first people that Tampa identified as we got to get some grit on our third line, and they brought him in. They brought Gaudreau in.
Yeah,
and away they went.
Well, the losing players to a cap crunch game, Tampa's probably the worst.
That would be the Gretzky of it.
Oh, Tampa would look.
McDonough,
Yanni Gourde, Gaudreau,
Palat,
Killorn.
Like, think of that. If Tampa had a duo, or like, hey, we want to bring those guys back, I guarantee you most of those guys would still be on the team.
Yeah.
Ross Colton.
There's
some really good.
They've had to move off a lot of good players.
What's his name? Right-handed defenseman, too. I think they moved away from. He was.
Ruda.
Yanni Ruda.
Yes,
yeah.
Ruda, they did.
Yeah, it's just think of the players they've had to cycle through because of the cap. Crazy.
But yeah, always good catching up with Naz. I mean, he's like I said, I was looking back on he broke in the 2012-2013 season was his first full season as a Leaf. He had played games in previous years.
Right.
But that lockout year was like, all right, you've arrived, you're here, and it's Reimer and JVR, the only other guys who are still playing.
Didn't he score in the Boston game?
Yes, he made it 4-1, I believe.
Yeah.
He scored to make it 4-1 in the third period. The beginning of the third period, he scored, and it was like it's over.
Who had the breakaway to make it 5-1?
Well, Fratton did.
That Matt Fratton.
Yeah. Clark MacArthur had a borderline
Someone's
breakaway.
Someone's going to do it 30 for 30 on the Matt Fratton breakaway. It's one of those sneaky details about the game where it's obviously the big story is. And I'll never forget sitting with Taddy, and I'm like, Taddy, Elias stats. It's 99.9%. They're winning. And me and Taddy were prepping to go to New York City.
Yeah.
For the next round. We got our passports.
Right. They were going to play the Rangers in the next round.
We were giving Todd our passport information that studio. You two guys were in there.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And then An hour later, I shook Jimmy's hand and I said, "Have a great summer, pal." I couldn't believe it.
That's right.
We were
really
making
is wild.
New York City arrangements. An hour later, I was like, "Jimmy, have a great summer," and I was gone.
You didn't stay. Well, you guys probably could still be on air for the post-game radio.
That could be
I'm
10
not
years.
kidding.
You could
That
be 10 years
post-game
of phone
could-
calls.
That could have been a 12-hour postgame show.
Yeah.
Because you would have had people like that Ron from Port Colborne.
Ron from Port Colborne had
Yeah.
30 Ryan Cokes and was so crippled after the game. And everyone was just losing it. It was an insane event.
You'll never forget it. Like I
No.
was like, even last night, this is how warped I am. The Packers are up 48-16. And I'm telling my kids, I'm like, it's 4-1 with 11 minutes to go. I'm like, it's not over yet. Like, it's 4 possessions, but that's 4 goals. They still, and like, I'm
Telling your kid, your daughter
night,
sat down.
I
on the
was
couch
telling
and be
my
like,
oldest daughter, I'm like, sit down for a second. I'm going to tell you about something that happened 10 years ago. And she's like, what is it? Because I'll never forget it. I know the date. It was May 13, 2013, my wife's birthday. It was her birthday. It was a Monday night. They had played the night before Game 6.
I know.
I took her down to that game. Like, it was kind of a birthday thing. We went down to Game 6.
It was back-to-back?
It was back-to-back because it was a lockout year.
Yeah.
It was May 13th. It was Game 7 in the first
Oh,
round.
and they had to wrap up the series.
They had to wrap up the series. It was the only Game 7, I believe. Everything else had been done. And I told my kids about Game 7 last night for the first time. I had to sit down.
You had to like sit them down and
I
walk.
said, sit down. I'm going to tell you a story. They said, what is it? I'm like, there was a time that at least we're up 4-1 with 11 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And,
And Matt Fratton,
There
number
is a-
11, had a breakaway.
There is
Yeah.
a 30 for 30. I'm surprised that
it's-
somebody hasn't done it yet here.
it's crazy.
Because going through that, not even just the percentage, but like that breakaway, that's a dagger.
You know what's wild too? Go back and look at the tape. This gets lost in the shuffle. Joffrey Lupul had a great
Don't do this.
chance. I'm telling you, in overtime, he was in alone in overtime. Go back
Really?
and find it. Everyone forgets that because you think Frat and you think MacArthur, you think it's
Yeah.
4-1. Bergeron ties it. Bergeron scores the OT winner.
Joe from the bridge, find the play.
Find the play if you can't. Lupul is basically, he's either in alone or it's a backdoor, and Rask was in net, I
Rask,
believe.
yeah, Tuukka Rask.
And Rask went like post to post or made a stop on him where it was like a real, like that dribbles through, it's in, rest is history, the Leafs find a way to win.
Yeah.
We don't even think about up 4-1. It becomes a great story that they overcame it. I'm telling you, there's a Lupul stop early in overtime where you'll see it and be like, that almost went in. Like he had a grade A chance.
Wow.
And Rask made the stop.
And thank you very much to JP, our technical producer, just sent me a text saying, Coleman drinks pickle juice to avoid cramps. That's why they call him Pickles.
Nice.
Thank you, JP.
Attaboy JP. Yeah, I remember, I think that was my first time on CTV News.
You went live on that?
No. The next day, they sent a camera in to watch me do the show. I was doing the show on my own, the Hayes show. Because this was 10 years ago. You guys came in, did the
Me and
lunch.
you were working together.
Yeah.
But my dad passed on the 8th. I remember going home, and I talked to you the next day because I talked to you about
maybe you weren't on. Were you on the show the next day?
I took a week off when my
okay.
dad died May 8th. That was the night that it was a 2-on-1. Boston, they were up. The Leafs lost in overtime here, where Dion pinched down, Phil didn't cover up.
That was Game 4.
So Game 4, I remember being on SportsCenter. We were in the, what's that Leaf area, live down by the
Maple Leaf Square, Gate 5.
Yeah, we were there. I was live on SportsCenter, and I
Yeah.
got the call that Dad had passed, and so I flew out the next day, and
So maybe I was doing the show on my own.
Well, we were doing Blue Lunch.
No,
or
I know
whatever.
that, but I can't remember if O was on with us or not. I guess not.
You would have been doing it on your own.
You were
Yeah.
doing it. They must have had somebody fill it because I took a week off for.
I think I might have just been on my own. I might have said, just let me talk.
You probably
I think
could
I
have
came
done
in for
it.
4 hours because I remember it was Austin Delaney and the camera was right here, and I was still Griff. I was massive.
Dude,
at
you had that
point.
blue T-shirt on, and you
I
were ready to
was huge.
rumble.
And you know how they cut and edit it?
Right.
They're like, I remember going back to watch it because this, we were on from 12 to 4 at that point.
Yeah.
This was a 6 o'clock news, and it's like starting the show. They're like, they choke, said Bryan Hayes, and I'm just yelling about them choking.
They must have just ran the Bryan Hayes show for 4 hours.
Yeah, I think
that
it was.
day.
It must have been me on my. I think I just took calls.
Because it was me and
just-
you for 2 hours, and then you'd continue on
That's
for
right.
2 more, right?
Yeah, that would have been 10
imagine?
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember calling you after the game.
I remember talking to you and be like, I can't believe it.
And
Man, we were going to New York. We were doing the same thing. Oh, you and the Tap Man, we were going to take the show to New York.
We were. And they ended up sending, I think, me to New York.
But you probably went to continue to cover other NHL stories.
Yeah, because I remember going to New York, it was Rangers Montreal. I don't know if that was the same year or maybe the next year, but it was.
No, it wasn't. It was the Boston Bruins went to New York and played the Rangers.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Either
They
way.
went to the finals that year.
Yeah, they did.
Boston
They lost to
Bruins.
Chicago.
Yes.
That's when Dave Bolin scored, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Bolin scored to beat the Bruins in like Game 6.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's exactly right.
Not
the
that I
Bruins played
remember
the
all that.
Rangers, and the Bruins went to the finals that year.
That's because they
insane.
took off after that. Like
Yes.
I think they dismantled New York.
They did.
I don't remember who they played in the final, but they dismantled someone in the conference final. Like they were cruising.
Wow.
Anyway. All right, back into the NFL. We're tracking Bills, Steelers. It's 21-7 in the second half. Obviously, we got another one tonight. This is great. Eagles, Bucks tonight. And then we're into the divisional round next week, so we'll get back into that. The Raptors in action tonight. The Leafs are on the West Coast. They're playing the Oilers tomorrow night. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, TSN 1050's Leafs lineup. Your chance to win Leaf tickets every week, all season long. Every weekday, we announce a current or former Maple Leaf player. And on Fridays, you have a chance to call in and name the Leaf lineup of the week. This week, we're giving away tickets to see the Leafs play the Islanders February 5th. Plus, we're throwing in a $250 Vanilla Visa prepaid card with each pair of tickets to make it the ultimate game night. Vanilla Visa prepaid cards are available for purchase at Petro-Canada. Today's player of the day is Derek King. Derek King. There you go. Derek King is your player of the day.
Derek King's a great guy.
Awesome. I played with him in New York.
Yeah, he did a
too
good
in
career,
Hartford.
Awesome. So funny.
yeah.
Dry sense of humor.
Hammered Miller Lights. Great guy. Loved Miller Lights.
So the weather, obviously not great up here. It's not going to be great in Western Canada. It was beautiful in Hawaii for 2 weeks. The tour went through Hawaii.
Give it to me.
I've got the clip because people ask us all the time. We talk about Mark Rolfing, who's an analyst.
Is this the clip about the mountain?
Yeah, it's the one that you're aware of it, but I want to play it for the audience because Noodles, you may not be aware of this because he's from Hawaii, or he's not from Hawaii, but he took a job in Hawaii.
Yeah,
he worked at Kapalua Resort for like 20 years, right? And he was like the head of hospitality or something.
Yeah. For instance, yesterday was the final round, and one of the announcers said, "Hey, Rolf, there's a little mountain beside the golf course here. Can you describe that?" And he's like, "Well, if you go up there, there's a little fire pit up there. You can sit around. I don't go up there anymore because it hurts my knees too much. But what a great spot! Spot.
He knows. You'd think the guy was.
Then he goes back
native.
to the 12th tee.
Yeah, well, that's the amazing thing is the transition. Is he talks? He's in tourism for the state of Hawaii.
Yes.
Right.
Like he basically works for the state.
Yeah.
And
He's
then
lived
he
there a
transitioned.
long time.
Yes. So I have a clip. This is from Friday, and this is Rolf in Hawaii.
There it is, Rolf. Sure, you've spent a lot of time there at world-famous Waikiki Beach.
Yeah, that's my kind of surfing, Danny, when the waves are 2 to 3 feet and really not much of a reef there. It's very gentle, lots of great stuff to do, both on top of the water and below it, and that may be the most famous beach in the entire world. Here's Zalatoris now from the bunker at 7.
He loves bringing it back. Let's go to Zalatoris in the bunker.
Like, what a transition. Might be the most famous beach in the world. Here's Zalatoris on 7 from the bunker.
But that's a talent.
That's textbook. Like, and that's Dan Hicks teeing him up. Tell us about the beach, Rolf. You know there's a reef there. 3-foot waves, blah, blah, blah.
But, dude, like, I live in Collingwood. If somebody, I barely know to direct people to a Reddit. I'm like, I don't know anything about Collingwood. This guy knows every single detail about every square foot of Hawaii, all the islands possible.
It's incredible.
He knows it all.
That's great producing, too, to go from the beach to the beach on the course.
Right.
Like Zalatoris in a bunker.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a beautiful, like, Emmy award-winning.
Great transition.
Yeah,
That's what it
because,
is.
like, before that, Hicks, I believe, is doing a read for Tourism Hawaii. So it's like, all right, this is brought to you by the state of Hawaii. And then it's like, all right, Rolf, sell us on this beach. And then we got to transition back into why people are actually watching the golf tournament.
That has a little bit of a baseball vibe, too, where they have to kill time, right?
Yeah.
So you're just
It does.
I'll tell you what, that guy that was in that bunker, he needs to get his game.
Oh, he's a mess. Bill Zalatoris.
He had back surgery, and he's got this new putter, and it looks weird, and he is not in a good spot starting out of the gate.
No, I mean, it was a weird start to what was it? Chris Kirk won at Kapalua, and then Grayson Murray yesterday, and I texted you over the weekend. That leaderboard, that was not like you had Keegan Bradley and a bunch of guys that are not household names. And you get that with the second tournament a lot in Hawaii. And I'm not saying if Liv didn't exist, it means Murray wouldn't have won or whatever, but it was a weird leaderboard on Sunday. Yeah. Like it was a kind of a watered down.
Which is kind of crazy. Like there were some guys, like Chris Kirk won the tournament last week. He played again. Nick Taylor played again.
And Taylor was good. Very good.
But a lot of them are like, okay, Century, Bird, out of there. It's like you're all the way in Hawaii. A lot of guys just don't stick around for that second tournament.
I don't really get it. You got the American Express, I guess, this week where John Rahm won it last year. Yeah. And I don't think we're going to see Rahm this weekend.
You probably won't see a strong field there either.
Possibly not. Yeah. If it's not an elevated event, I mean, that's another thing. Guys don't show up. All right, our best bet's brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Raptors playing the Celtics tonight down at Scotiabank. We'll get to that. We'll play that for our best bet. We're tracking Bills Steelers right now. The Bills are up 21-7. To chat about it, we're joined now by former NFLer, Westwood One analyst, and SiriusXM contributor. Here's Ryan Harris. How you doing, Ryan?
Great, everyone. How you doing?
We're doing well, man. We've been talking about the elements a lot. We're seeing it down in Buffalo where they had to push it, back a day, and the snow's gone, but it is ice cold there. It was freezing on Saturday in Kansas City. I'm sure you played in those games. Like, what is imperative? Put us in the shoes of a player. Like, what type of mentality do you have to succeed in those kind of elements?
Yeah, you have to be ready to push through pain because, as everyone knows, I mean, hockey players know this a little better, too, because it's a little colder on the ice, but the pain hurts worst in the cold. And so you have to be willing to play through what you think are sure broken ribs or fingers and know that it's just super cold and you can't really, your blood's not flowing to solve the problems and inflammation. So you have to understand that. And then you also have to understand, look, the winner of the game is going to be playing in the cold. That is a given. That's a necessary condition to winning the game is playing in the cold. So, anybody out there, you look out the window and there's weather. There's weather every day. Mm-hmm. You can't choose it and you can't change it, but you can play in it, and that's the opportunity you have.
We were talking about the coach sending a message, and it was like Andy Reid had a tank top underneath his jacket and could care less yesterday. And I think as a player, you're looking at that and you're like, I cannot make excuses because my coach does not care about this weather. And obviously it's different because you're playing because you're so active and you're a part of the game. But McDaniel on the other side was like, I'm freezing my ass off. Is it possible for a coach like those two different messages where McDaniel was almost like, this sucks being here? It was kind of a weird vibe.
Yes, and that's McDaniel not having the experience. Because, look, Andy Reid's been there. Literally, Patrick Mahomes might have to travel it for the first time in his playoff career if they leave Kansas City. He's been there. He knows that the winner has to play in the cold. You get used to it. But, guys, also, coaches are some of the biggest liars in the world. They may have a tank top underneath the windbreaker, but they've got, like a heater that they stand on every 2 minutes as someone pulls back and forth. They've got 3 sets of long johns. But the key, guys, everybody in the NFL, the great teams at least, the ones that know how to play in the playoffs, you have to wear a scuba suit. And some of the receivers are literally in scuba bottoms and a scuba top, and they cut it off so that you can't see it from underneath the shoulder pads unless you're paying attention. But that's the only way to win. And it's one of those things when Peyton told us, hey, guys, I'm getting you guys all some scuba gear, you were mad, like, man, I could have used this information my entire career. I was freezing out there, So there's ways to battle it, and as a coach, you have to understand that going into it. And there are differences between veteran championship coaches and new coaches who have great players.
Sticking with that game before we get to Cowboys, Packers, and Lions, Rams, like there's a lot of talk about Tua and whether or not you can win with him, whether or not he can win on the road against good teams, whether or not he can throw in the cold and the wind. I thought he was horrible on Saturday night. I know the elements are terrible, but where do you stand on Tua and the idea that he's a guy that can possibly win a Super Bowl in Miami someday?
They would have to have Derrick Henry. If they get Derrick Henry in free agency, if Derrick Henry's not going to be with the Tennessee Titans, then absolutely you can win with him. You need also an offensive line. Look, Liam Eichenberg, Notre Dame graduate, was doing a great job this year, and they had 3 different linemen play 3 different positions this year. That's not okay. You have to have some depth on the offensive line, and look who knows that. The teams that are at the top, right? One of the most together offensive lines and strongest offensive lines in Baltimore and the 49ers. Say something against Trent Williams, I dare you. It's just not going to happen, and you have to have that depth. But for me, Tua is who he has been. He's a fantastic player with a great arm that is short, and in the NFL, when you have to make quick decisions against blitzing defenses who are all 6'2" or above, you have to be able to see over them, and he can't. That's the book to beat him, and it happened again.
Ryan, the Cowboys kind of, let's just be honest. They did what the Cowboys kind of do. It's just what they do, and there's no sense of breaking it down. We all saw what happened yesterday. But what do you think goes on there moving forward? Or is it what's been happening in the past where it's like Dak's back and maybe make a coaching change? Where do you see on where the Cowboys go from here?
I think they fire Mike McCarthy. I don't know how you keep him. This is the first team in NFL history that's won 12 games in 3 seasons and hasn't reached a conference championship. Like, you're setting the worst history in NFL. That's not a good place to be. And especially when you juxtapose that against coaches who are being successful and do have their teams prepared and did win their home playoff game. You're going in the wrong direction. You can't get over that hump. And more than anything, you better hire 1, if not 2, mental performance coaches for that team. That is the only reason that explains the difference in their play. From the neck up has to be checked out because they are making mistakes. They get scared easily. They're out physical every time it comes down to it. They're the Tracy McGrady's of the NFL. They look great when it's easy, but when times get tough, it's a different player.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great analogy. And it lands in Toronto especially well with Ryan Harris, former NFLer, Westwood One analyst, and SiriusXM contributor. On the other side, there's so much focus on the Cowboys for obvious reasons. But this Packers team, the youngest team to make the playoffs since the early 70s, the youngest playoff team ever to win a playoff game, and they do so on the road, and they didn't squeak that out. It wasn't a late drive, a 2-minute drill, or a late pick to hold on to a lead. They dismantled Dallas, and a lot of that was the implosion of the Cowboys, but also how great the Packers looked, and specifically offensively. And there's Bears fans watching that, Vikings fans watching that, even Lions fans who were elated 4 hours later because they finally won a playoff game. You got to be looking at saying, wait a minute, they went from Favre to Rodgers to this guy. Like, how good was Jordan Love, and how good do you think he can be now throughout his career?
Well, he was great, and he was as great as he was during the regular season. Yeah, he had a stretch of bad games. What quarterback in the NFL didn't? And he came back roaring. And what you saw in the Dallas game is what anybody who's been watching the film on him has seen. When you have a running back in Aaron Jones that has over 100 yards rushing, you are going to have a successful passer. So I really think, this would be, no one's talking about this, but Jordan Love really has played his way into an MVP conversation just because of what he's done in Green Bay, getting them to be in that playoff position with the fact that he didn't have a run game when Aaron Jones was out. This is a phenomenal turnaround. This is a team that's hungry and just too young to know that they don't belong there. Now, they're going to have their troubles, like everyone will, going against the 49ers and things like that. But this is a team that, as you mentioned, is on the rise, and Jordan Love could very well be, and some are saying he is the next great quarterback for the Packers.
Ooh, man. And as I mentioned, Detroit, that was incredibly cool last night. Like that, I didn't think I'd see the day. The Lions win a playoff game. They win in the fashion they do. It's on Sunday night. It's prime time.
Didn't you expect, Hazy, for it to be I thought the celebrations after might have sent a vibe where they were kind of a little bit too happy instead of saying, I didn't expect Belichick, let's get ready for the next game, but it was like the game balls to the GM. It was like, it almost like they felt too good about themselves, if that's possible.
How do you feel about that, Ryan?
Well, I think everyone misses that the Rams completely blew clock management before the 2-minute warning yesterday. You do not let all that time click off without taking the time out. And so you basically gave away the victory. And I think for the Lions, it was a shock. As a player, you feel like, oh, my God, we beat the will out of this team that until tonight has been phenomenal in situational football. It's tough not to celebrate. I had a buddy of mine from the mountains of Colorado trek all the way through the storms and canceled flights. And mind you, the players have family that have canceled flights. They don't know who's coming in, what time's the game time, what time is practice, what time's the meeting, when's my family getting in. I mean, that's a reason to celebrate. But I do agree. They looked like a team that hadn't celebrated in 33 years of home victory in the playoffs. So you can't fault them either way. And if I'm an opposing team, I want to play the Lions. Please give me the team that spent way too much time celebrating just the first week in what is a 5-week marathon if you want to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's eerily similar to the hockey team up here in Toronto. Like the Leafs last year won a playoff series for the first time in 20 years. People going nuts, the teams popping champagne. Like, and understandably, it had been so long, and then they got smoked in the second round. And, I don't know what's going to happen here. They're playing the Eagles or the Bucks. I mean, that sets up pretty well, regardless of what happens tonight. You got to believe the Lions will be favored. And everyone's wondering what we see out of tonight. Like, the Bucks are not a primetime team based on the way they played all year. But Baker Mayfield's been really good. He's been very good. And the Eagles have completely melted the last 5 or 6 weeks. Like, do you think Philly has the veteran presence and maturity to show up tonight and put on a show and win a ball game?
Well, not in one case, and that's A.J. Brown who's been ruled out, and that's a huge piece now. I mean, you guys know, you watch a lot of hockey, you take, McKinnon out of the Avs, that's a very different offense that the Avalanche are running, right? Take Connor Bedard out of the Blackhawks, you can go on and on. That's a huge piece to that offense. And you have the fact that you have Jalen Hurts, who had at least a dislocated finger. I don't know. You guys are the hockey guys. You see the fingers broken all the time.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't have been in the game to begin with because you got to believe the Cowboys beat the Commanders. He's injured. They had a couple other guys get dinged up, and this team was already exhausted. So it's going to be a tough situation. I don't care who you are. When cannons go off, it hits the soul of your body, and you're never ready for it. And that's what the Eagles are going to have to do if and every time the Tampa Bay Buccaneers score, those cannons go off, and they are terrifying.
Yeah, it'll be loud down there tonight, man. It will be. We'll see. Ryan, great catching up with you, man. Really appreciate you doing this, and enjoy the games tonight.
Fun, guys. Have a good one. Peace.
You got it. Ryan Harris. All right. Yeah, they are. It's like Tampa. They got the whole pirate thing going, and
lots of distractions. But
there's been numerous broadcasters that has scared the hell out of. Like there's always the outtakes where they're like sitting there, their suit, the mic, and that thing goes off, and they are scared to hell.
All I can think of is in Columbus when the hockey team scores,
the
cannon goes off. As a broadcaster, you actually have to pause to wait to let it go off, then you talk. But it scares the hell out of you because you're trying to, get your thought together, maybe put your replay together, and then all of a sudden this cannon goes off. It's ridiculous. It could give somebody a heart attack.
Do they let the truck know when it's coming, or
no?
So you just have to
Columbus will score. The crowd will be going on, going nuts, and then all of a sudden it's like boom. Oof. It's so rattling.
I think Tom Brady would be there tonight, and do you think he would be a big enough presence in Tampa to get that place rocking? He should. He won them a Super Bowl. He's Tom Brady.
You mean like put him on the jumbotron?
Yeah, like
if
Brady's the
something?
guy, kind of. Yeah, he's setting the cannon off to start the game.
I don't know.
Because I still don't think of him as a Buccaneer at all.
When was it when he was running along the sidelines in a Patriot jersey? That
was this year when they honored him. That was week 3 or week 4 or whatever.
Came bombing out in a jersey.
Yeah.
What are you wanting to know about Brady? If that would still land there?
Yeah, I guess it has to. I mean,
Tom Brady.
He's Tom Brady, and he was a Buccaneer, and he was there for years, and they won a Super Bowl. It has to.
He could go and do it for any other organization that he wasn't affiliated with, and people would be like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah, you're probably right.
It's
like
Tommy
he's just
Brady.
that guy, man.
He moves the needle.
Yeah,
I've got something that moves the needle too. I don't know if you saw what James sent us, that email.
I really wish he didn't.
I had Joe from the Bridge clip it.
Is this from CTV News the day after the 4-1 game? I don't think I want to see this.
We have it. If the video of this guy by himself.
Oh my God! Hang on a sec. I gotta get
no. We
Let
don't
his
need to play
monitor
this.
be on. I don't know.
Do we need to take a break and come back?
We might
and
have
break
to prep
down?
this thing, and we might have to break it down.
I have not seen this. I haven't seen this in 10 years. So I
haven't seen it at all.
I didn't even think it would be archived. I just remember the next day Austin Delaney being in here being like, "Can I shoot something?" And then we're going to play it and talk about it.
Why don't we
bet you
just
I'm a
let it rip right
disaster
now?
in this.
Can we let it rip right
Just
now, or do
heading
you want to
into
take a
break?
break?
Do we have it? I don't know how
break it
long
down?
it is. It might be like three. It might be
No,
two or 3 minute
I asked
thing.
Joe for the bridge just to clip your part
Oh,
at the end.
great. 20 seconds. Do we have it? Just want to see me from it.
That's,
I'm sick over this. I'm so,
dude,
okay, go
fire
ahead.
it up and
Play it.
crank the volume up.
Back at TSN Radio, there was an explanation.
Look at this guy.
They choke, says Bryan Hayes.
Look at that sweater. That guy is
This
starving.
Joffrey Lupul today. That hockey game will haunt me until the day I die.
Oh,
Okay. So I wasn't even in it. I guess I wasn't even featured. They just showed
They
me.
just got you in your black sweater.
Yeah. Who was I on there with? I don't even know who that was.
I don't know.
Dude, you look pretty good. Like, that
Yeah.
must have been the start of the regroup. No?
Yeah, 13. I don't think so. It was the next year I
A
started.
year later, you started the regroup?
Yeah. I
Dude,
was-
it must have been after that.
That might have been Tough Mudder time, though, actually. That was probably around tough. I was probably not bad.
Yeah. Well,
I
You-
went-
during that wing eating contest, you had this blue T-shirt on, and you
I know.
you were looking to eat anything in sight.
It was really bad.
the wing eating
The wing and eating contest in particular. I got the earmuffs on. I like that blue shirt. That's a $4.99 Old Navy T-shirt.
Who was in the wing eating contest with it? Wasn't it Andrea Perrone?
Yeah, Andrea was
Perone.
in it. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andrea
It was
Perone,
me, Andrea, and Hayes.
who I think is like a police.
She's a
officer.
police officer now. She probably
Yeah.
wants that video burned.
Well, she looks good in it. I mean, I don't think that's the issue. The only guy that wants that burned is probably me. Wing. And remember the idiot that we got? I'm not even going to give him a plug.
No.
Went to see
No.
that guy like a week later. He pretended
We
he didn't even
promoted his whole.
recognize
We
me.
had the guy sitting in that place.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
And then
that
a
was
week-
because you
a
don't
week later-
remember the sports.
Hayes went back 2 days later. He was starving, and the
You
guy
know-
told him to stuff it.
He basically did. I was
You
like,
know why, though? Because I guarantee you the sports horn went in there and got a bunch
and he took all the vouchers.
Exactly. And then this guy was like, get the hell out of here.
I know
All of you
exactly the transaction that happened.
I know. The sports
set
horn
it
went
up.
in there with a large suitcase and said, put as much wings in there as you can, and didn't pay, and then we all got stiffed. That's what he did.
That's exactly
A
what happened.
large, like a cruise type of suitcase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And said, stuff it full.
And the probably owner said, and send a message to everyone else.
Yeah.
No one else comes in looking
Yeah,
for freebies.
exactly.
I'm giving them all to you.
And you
I went in 3 days later, which you would think I would take a week off,
and he
and I did. And he looked through me like I was
like nothing.
like I didn't exist. Like,
Unless
can
you
I
had a
help
twin
you?
brother. That's the only thing I
I've
can
heard
think of.
reports that he did, but I find that hard to believe. Like the twin wouldn't be watching too. It was massive advertising.
That is
for
true.
them.
The guy was just
And I wasn't looking for anything free necessarily, but how about some acknowledgement?
an acknowledgement
Hey, there
of,
he is.
hey, there's the guy from TV.
Yeah,
Help sell my wings. Man, that was a tough transaction.
that was tough. All right, Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel. Coming up, OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's Best Bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Jason Tatum, 25-plus points tonight. R.J. Barrett, 2+ threes made tonight and over the number 238. The Raptors' defense has been leaking. And I think that continues tonight. That parlay paying plus 240. Today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. The sweat begins at tip-off by betting your favorite NBA star to score the first basket or go for 30-plus points in a same-game parlay. Please play responsibly, 19-plus and physically located in Ontario.
How much of that is OG gone?
I think that's a factor for sure. They weren't great defensively before that, but you got Pirtle out of the lineup too, right? Like Pirtle out and OG gone, that's trouble.
It is
Like that is serious trouble.
concerning.
And yeah, as for the Bills game, they just kicked a field goal. They're up 24-10. So we're going to pick that up in progress, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? That's coming up here on TSN 1050. It's up on TSN. And then you got the Monday Nighter tonight, Eagles versus Bucks.
Lots to chat about, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you know it, man. And
Whose pick was that? Eagles Bucks.
that was ours. We're on the
What
Bucks.
did you guys go with?
Bucks plus 3.
Oh, dude, no way, man. Philly crushes them tonight.
I'm worried about, like, we just heard Ryan, like, A.J. Brown's out. That's their number one weapon. And, like, Jalen Hurts is, I think he's wearing a glove tonight for the first time in his career.
That's concerning.
Like, they're saying, like, his finger is seriously mashed up. So, They got to put pressure on him, and Baker's got to play. That easy. Baker's got to play.
Yeah, he does. But, I mean, I don't know.
It'll be a good game tonight. We've got a bunch of NHL games, NBA games tonight.
And
Martin Luther King Day.
Where's Al's brother? Is he going to resurface at all? Like
Well,
satellite
he's on
phone
a
or
cruise,
something?
isn't he?
No, he's not. That's Pro Bowl week. He's taking the Pro Bowl off to go on a cruise. So he'll be back later in the week. We're 1-1 on our picks. It's all good. Yeah. And I like our pick tonight with the Bucks. We start 2-1. We're happy.
Yep.
We'll see what comes of it. All right. So Bills Steelers coming up the rest of the game here on TSN Radio. Leafs in action tomorrow night. Full breakdown tomorrow. Full tee up, I guess, tomorrow. And we'll break down the Raptor game from tonight. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. Radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
Sports Horn. Foot long, cold cut combo, and a bag of Sun Chips. 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.